Hello, fifth graders. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the percent to decimal to fraction connection. Before you deal with percents, you have to know that they're absolutely positively tied to decimals and fractions. That you can change a decimal very easily into a percent. You can also change a fraction into a percent if you know how. Let's take a look at a few examples. For instance, as long as you bear in mind that the word percent is taken from a Latin term per centum, which means Latin for by the hundred. So it's all about dividing something into 100 parts. Now, probably the easiest thing you can think of as divided into 100 parts would be this. It's money. Our American system, the dollar, is divided into 100 parts. Each part is called a cent, just like percent. So what we have here, 3/4. What percent of a whole dollar would that be? Well, since it stands for 75 cents, it's 75% of a dollar. Let's take a look at a grid real quick. Okay, take a look at this grid. It's divided into 100 parts, and I went ahead and colored in 50, but just how much is colored in? Well, if you took a look at it as in terms of a decimal, it'd be 50 hundredths are colored in. If you turn that into a fraction, it'd be 50 parts out of 100. But then if you want to change it to percent, all you have to do is take the decimal point and bump it over 2 spots to the right. It's always to the right, and it's always 2 spots. Therefore, 50% are colored in. Do you see how that works? Let's try a different one. All right, next one. How much of this particular one is colored in? Okay, if you were to look at it as a decimal, it would be 34 hundredths of the square. Turn it into a fraction, 34 over 100, said the same way, 34 hundredths. Then finally, if you bump that decimal point over 2 spots to the right, 34% in all. Pretty simple concept. Okay, but not all fractions are going to be exactly are going to be divided into 100 parts. Let's take a look at this one. This square has been divided into fourths. I colored in 1 out of the 4, but what percent is colored in? Take a look at this one. 1/4, of course. Now, if you want to change that into a percent easily, you're going to need to find something you can multiply it by that will turn it into 100. 4 times 25 makes 100. So what you do the bottom, you have to do the top. 1 times 25 means 25 of 100, and the percent is 25% of the square is colored in. Now, just because we normally divide something into 100 parts doesn't mean that percents stop at 100%. Take a look at this. All right, this design right here. How much is colored in? Well, first we have a whole one over here, so 100% of this square is colored in, but only part of this one is. That would be 23 out of the 100. So that means our fraction version would look like this. 1 whole, 23 hundredths over here. We want to turn that into a decimal. Again, 1 whole and 23 hundredths of another square. How do we turn that into a percent? We simply, you guessed it, bump the decimal point 2 places to the right, and now you've got your percent. 123% of the squares are colored in. That's how you turn fractions and decimals into percents. And now, back to the coffee.